Thanks to the IFE and the Fastener Industry Coalition for this Hall of Fame induction. I'm extremely honored. I'm very, very humbled and somewhat speechless, but I have some people I want to thank. I want to thank Mike McGuire, who it was that I think nominated me, and I appreciate that, Mike, and appreciate your thought leadership in the industry. I want to congratulate fellow inductee John Walkman from Desert Distribution and the Fastener Training Institute. It's probably only appropriate that John and I are going at the same time, because maybe the group thought that I was going to carry John's luggage, because that's about relationship to the contribution that John's made compared to myself. I'm very humbled and have not done nearly what John has done in the industry. I am speaking to you from where this all started. This is what we refer to at GL Hewitt as the Tin Shed. This is the place that my wife and I purchased back in 1992, 28 years ago, almost right now. And this was quite an adventure. I used to write these slogans around on the walls to kind of try to keep people focused. Through this wall was an unheated, unair-conditioned warehouse, so we had to put fingerless gloves on in the winter to go outside there and pick orders. Everything was done. All the invoicing was hand done on a Smith Corona typewriter. I recall memorizing many of the industry's leaders, distribution leaders, their shipping addresses, billing addresses, because each one was hand individually typed. So we've come a long ways, and there's some people that really have helped me in the journey. I want to thank Hall of Famer Ed McElhon, who's probably the best salesman I ever met, and he taught me it's sometimes better to be nice than right. I want to thank Hall of Famer Bruce Wheeler. Bruce is probably the most commonsensical person I've ever met. Extremely sensible, and whenever I need to be grounded into just basic logic, Bruce is the person I call. I want to thank Hall of Famer Bill Derry. Bill taught me a lot about changing my leadership ways. I'll talk a little bit about that later, and he's also instrumental in our profit sharing design at GL Hewitt. I want to thank Fastener Professional of the Year Don Novak, who's now retired formally from Falcon Fastening Systems. Don taught me to pay attention to the numbers and the financials. I also want to thank Bob Hahn. Bob is the person that we purchased GL Hewitt from. He taught me to conserve cash, watch cash, was also just in general a mentor. And I recall a few years back, maybe longer than what I care to admit, him having my son Jimmy on a forklift out here in the brick street. So he was a great guy. And then finally my dad, who taught me to be a philosophical type person in business, to always be thinking about things. I want to thank some suppliers, Craig and Jonathan Slass from Rotorclip, Mike Lentini and Jeff Cole from Spiral, Bill Selesky from A. Raymond Tinnerman and the Tinnerman folks, Jamie Lawrence of AVK, Darren Bommy, Alan and Virginia Wong, and then Jenny Pilsner and now, I guess, retired Jerry DeWitts from ITW Shakeproof. I also want to thank Chuck Smith of AZ Lifting Hardware and Roger Safransky of Precision Specialties. Those are a couple of companies we've purchased in the last few years, and I hope that we've treated them well. And we've certainly extended the business, and we're very pleased to have worked with them and looked forward to working with more such folks. I also want to extend a very special thank you to my fellow members or former members of the Fastener Advisory Board. Ron Stanley of Empire Bolt and Screw, Mark Shannon of Tower Fasteners, Jim Ritz of AIS, which I hope soon to be Dr. Jim Ritz, Giovanni Cespedes of Falcon Fastening Systems, Doug Ruggles of Martin Industrial, Nick Ritz of AIS MSC, Matt Goldberg of Accurate Manufactured Parts Group, and then Adam Pratt from Sheerix. All very, very instrumental. And really, for me in my career, there was an inflection point. This wasn't just an easy linear journey, but there was an inflection point back in the 2006, 2008 time frame when the fab members really gave me a lot of direct advice, and I really had to kind of change my ways as a manager. I had to learn to lead instead of telling. You had to learn to stimulate and influence as opposed to being a boss. I had to learn to be more self-aware in terms of how people are reacting to me and how I'm reacting to them, to be a better communicator. And I also had to learn how to focus so that I'm always kind of a person of ideas, and sometimes that can be overwhelming to people, and you do a lot of things halfway instead of a couple of things really well. And so from that, I feel like we've emerged as a professionally managed company. I'm very thankful to my executive team, Dan Harriger, Sarah Sennett, and Scott Longfellow, as well as all of the associates and employees of GL Hewitt. This is a team award, and I hope that everyone at GL Hewitt is honored as well. There is a legacy that I hope that we are working on and continue to leave in the industry. This is an industry that has a lot of channel conflict between manufacturers and distributors. There's conflict over safety stock. There's conflict over the customer relationship. And sometimes I think that the value to the actual end user can be, to a certain extent, compromised by that conflict. And so our legacy that we're trying to leave is we want to try to influence the channel to deliver value. And so there's a few things that we have our attention that we want to continue to work on. One is, how much safety stock should there be in the supply chain and where should it be? The second thing is can we reduce the time it takes to transact so that the costs of procurement are lowered? Can we reduce the number of vendors? The more vendors, more vendor relationships, the more invoices, pack lists that distributors have to have, the higher the cost. Can we influence and improve design and fit, form, and function, assembly, cost, those sorts of things? Those are all things really important to us. And so I think there are some archaeological, if you will, artifacts that we've left upon the industry. We have a field sales force that's the highest trained in the industry, and is also we were one of the few companies that has a direct sales force. We have a superior customer service experience. We time all of our quotes, train all of our teams. We have inside sales engineering to support those solutions that we do. We have a robust e-commerce site. And then we do a lot of data-driven decision making and are working a lot on data analytics. And so there's smaller things like free material test reports, the pack list that can change your life, and IQ quoting tools that we have for our lifting hardware. So these are all things that are important. But when it gets down to it, the most important legacy that we want to leave is the community. And this really gets back to the burden that this imposes upon me and upon our organization. And so we really, really do want to give back. And so as we move forward, we want to continue to give back in the form of new ideas, but more importantly, I'd like to give back professionally and personally. And so if any of you need help, you want to call me in the middle of the night, anything like that at all, I'm happy to help. I'm happy to consult. I'm burdened by this and obliged, and I want to try to continue that community building. Finally, I want to thank my family. I want to thank my 5 kids, my oldest son, Jimmy, Emily, my daughter, my son, Tommy O'Keefe, Spotify, now over 200,000 plays. So if you're interested in some good music, check him out. My daughter, Mary Grace, my son, John, and then my wife. My wife has really been my soulmate. And she really brings the love, our culture of love that we have at GL Hewitt, and has been a big influence on the business in an indirect way. And so I want to leave you with a line from a poem that I gave Carol, my wife, when I proposed to her for marriage. It's from the poet Dylan Thomas, and it goes like this: "Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of light." And so as we move forward, and as you move forward in the fastener industry, I want to encourage you to always chase the light. And remember, you only have one time on this earth to make a change, to make an influence. And so don't blow the opportunity. Finally, I do pray for the continuing recovery of my friends Jim Derry and Bruce Wheeler. I thank everyone once again, and God bless.